Liesl Hack, and I am an MSW candidate from Renison University College and the University of Waterloo, and I'd like to take a moment to welcome you to my MSW capstone project. For my project, I chose to create a mosaic finger labyrinth, which is this here, as a reflection of the highlights and synthesis of my learning throughout my MSW. During my presentation, I will discuss how this learning has had an impact on my personal and professional growth and development, as well as demonstrate how it links to social work practice and theory. So please join me and let's begin the journey. Hi, I'm Liesl Hack, and I am an MSW candidate from Renison University College and the University of Waterloo, and I'd like to take a moment to welcome you to my MSW capstone project. For my project, I chose to create a mosaic finger labyrinth, which is this here, as a reflection of the highlights and synthesis of my learning throughout my MSW. During my presentation, I will discuss how this learning has had an impact on my personal and professional growth and development, as well as demonstrate how it links to social work practice and theory. So please join me and let's begin the journey. Labyrinths have been used for thousands of years as a way to walk and experience the metaphor of a journey. A labyrinth is often representative of a pilgrimage or a spiritual journey, but in its basic form, a labyrinth is a metaphor for a journey to the center of yourself and the journey out again. When you enter a labyrinth, you do not know how the journey will unfold, but you can return with a more profound understanding of who you are by reflecting on the insights that you have gained along the way. A labyrinth walk also offers time for reflection of what has brought you to the present moment, the path or paths you have taken to get there, and time to reflect on your journey forward. A labyrinth is designed to have one path that leads to its center and one path that leads out again, and it is a system that requires you to navigate its twists and turns to reach your destination. My MSW journey has been about the change of how I understand and view macro-level social work practice and the reflection and integration of my learning into my current and future practice. The completion of the MSW program coursework, postings, and assignments were integral to my learning, but my practicum was where I experienced the most profound synthesis of my learning about macro-level social work practice while navigating the twists and turns of a large healthcare system. Before entering a labyrinth, it is common to start the journey with a specific question or intention in mind, and I began my MSW journey asking the question, what is macro-level social work practice? Since becoming a social worker, I have only engaged in micro-level practice, providing care and working directly with individuals accessing healthcare services in a small clinic setting. Practicing at the micro level in the small reproductive healthcare system of Women's Health Options has allowed me to develop my direct practice skills in a familiar and comfortable context and setting. So to find the answer to my question, what is macro-level social work practice? I sent an intention to acquire a practicum at the macro level and was fortunate to be able to do this at Alberta Health Services. Alberta Health Services is the single health authority in Alberta, and it is a large organizational system that is composed of numerous subsystems, and my practicum setting was in the subsystems of health professions strategy and practice, and clinical business initiatives and provincial addiction and mental health in the Edmonton zone. Prior to my practicum, I had no previous experience with macro-level practice and did not know what to expect. My practicum put me in an unfamiliar context with no direct client contact, and I found myself having to learn how to practice social work in this setting. Even though I had an established foundation of direct practice skills, I had to figure out how to apply my skills and put them into action at the macro level. In one of the program courses, we critically explored supervision and leadership roles for social workers and discovered that many of us have or have had direct practice supervision and supervisors from healthcare disciplines other than social work. Having practicum supervisors who were also social workers was invaluable and integral to the synthesis and integration of my learning from the coursework into the field practice setting, and in being able to navigate the Alberta Health Services systems. My practicum was an intensive learning experience, and had I not had access to the practice knowledge and guidance of my social work practicum supervisors, I do not believe I would have had the same degree of professional and personal growth and development. As quoted from Lowe and Austin, 1997, in my paper written for my integration seminar assignment addressing professional identity, Lowe and Austin state social workers share a code of ethics that identifies a set of values and principles for practice. They utilize a problem solving approach that focuses on the person and environment, and they are committed to social change. Page 130. Without direct social work supervision and leadership, I would have had a much harder time understanding the role of social work practice in the large organizational system of Alberta Health Services and how adherence to the social work code of ethics and standards of practice guide and inform macro level practice. I discussed and reflected upon this in my core competency number 2 in my e-portfolio. Along with learning and reflecting on the need and value of social work practice, supervision, leadership, and guidance in an interdisciplinary health care setting, I was further able to establish my professional social work practice identity at the macro level by reflecting and drawing upon ecosystem theory. Ecosystem theory recognizes that a person is a system made up of and influenced by many contextual and social influences of their past and current environment. In direct micro practice, my person and environment system is engaged and in relationship with the client's person and environment system, and we are simultaneously interacting and engaged in relationship with the system of the healthcare facility where the care is being provided. At the macro level, my person and environment system was interacting and in relationship with the system of Alberta Health Services and the subsystems of health profession strategy and practice and clinical business initiatives and provincial addiction and mental health policy, as well as the contextual and social factors that influence these systems and the individuals that work within them. When engaged in micro-level social work practice, I take the time to learn about and understand an individual and their ecosystem in order to provide them with culturally competent and ethical care. This applies at the macro level as well, and reflecting on and referring to ecological system theory helped me to better understand how my person and environment system is interacting with the systems within Alberta Health Services, and how this interaction could affect or impede my ability to initiate change in the system. Similar to an individual having their own person and environment system, language, and culture, larger systems like Alberta Health Services do as well. And in order to practice effectively, I had to learn the language and culture of Alberta Health Services and how to navigate the system. I'm a white cisgender woman, a recognized member of the dominant society and culture, a social worker, and minimally impacted by the social determinants of health, all of which provide me with privilege, agency, and power. In the context of my practicum, I was a little fish in a very big pond, and I found the experience of learning how to navigate the large and intimidating system of Alberta Health Services uncomfortable, challenging, and frustrating. And this was a minuscule glimpse into the reality of the intersectional oppression and barriers to care that people, communities, and cultures who are not accepted, recognized, or welcomed by the dominant society face. This was a very humbling experience that solidified the importance and need for ethical and competent social workers to be collaborative partners in the development and delivery of healthcare policy and administration, and reflected the need to employ critical thinking and the ecosystem approach in professional practice, which I discussed in core competency number 1. In the same way that I had no prior experience with macro level social work practice, I also had no experience creating or making a mosaic labyrinth before my capstone project. To create and make my mosaic labyrinth, I had to find a pattern for the labyrinth and then figure out how to draw the pattern on the foundation. Once my pattern was drawn, I then had to choose my tiles and learn how to cut them to the right size and angle so they would fit within the labyrinth path. Once I had the right pieces, I secured them to the foundation and applied the grout to fill the gaps and unite the pieces of my mosaic labyrinth together. I identified parallels between the creation of my mosaic labyrinth and social work practice that helped me to recognize my direct client contact and practice skills at the micro level were the foundation of my macro level social work practice. And the MSW courses and practicum were where I was able to synthesize and integrate the knowledge I already had with the knowledge I had gained as being the pieces I needed to be able to put the puzzle of macro social work practice together. Although there are differences in the realms of micro and macro social work practice, social work at the macro level in healthcare is about interacting with and initiating change in healthcare systems. This can be achieved by integrating the values, ethics, and principles of social work practice and theory and the holistic person and environment philosophy into the environment and culture of the healthcare system and in the consultation and development of healthcare policy. This will require the commitment of social work leadership and research at the macro system level and consultation and collaboration between all members of society, all healthcare professionals, and the healthcare system as a whole. If this can be realized, it could help to make health and the healthcare system more equitable and accessible for all.